That is the song I learned to yoke to with my father. Welcome to today's edition of Chat and Chill, the exclusive brought to you by Next Showcase Chicago. I'm Tyra Martin. I'm your host for the afternoon, and we are going to talk about Aretha Franklin. Everybody else is. Her name is on the tip of everyone's lips as this year, all of the productions in her honor are coming to the small and the big screen. Later this summer, there will be Respect, which stars Jennifer Hudson, and who is the person that Aretha chose to portray her. But this week brought National Geographic's Genius, which is a series that they do, which really narrows in on what makes different figures in pop culture and history genius, what it was that was special about them. And so for that project, they chose British actress and award-winning performer, Cynthia Erivo. I had the opportunity to speak with her just before the series debuted, and we talked about taking on such a legendary artist and what that felt like for her. Let's take a listen. So we bought it and we kept it.
I love it. I think I might find it. I'm going to watch it myself.
Tell me a little bit about stepping into this role, because I would imagine at a dozen different levels, this was daunting and probably like electrifyingly exciting.
Yes, that is. I love that description of it, because it was a combination of, I'm really excited to do this. Oh my God, am I going to do this right? Am I going to do this well? I can't wait to be able to tell this story. And I love this music and I love this woman. Please let me get this right. You know, there's a combination, that's all the conversation that goes on in my head the entire time, because this overwhelming sense of wanting to get it right, this overwhelming sense of responsibility to honor the life that was Aretha Franklin. So yeah, it was a bit of both, a hefty size of both daunting and excitement. Yeah.
What was the most interesting thing you learned about her?
A couple things. I think to learn more about her activism was really inspiring and refreshing, and I think something that we don't know enough about when it comes to Aretha. I don't know that we realized that there was a whole album that was really specifically about the work that she was trying to do, about the message that she was trying to get out. I don't know that we know that she had a relationship with Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. I don't know that it's something that I didn't realize that she was so close to, which is such a wonderful thing. And I guess I knew this, and I say this a lot, but it really does astound me, the idea that she was raising a family whilst being Aretha Franklin, which to me is just an incredible feat, because she did it with absolute grace, and you wouldn't have known that she was having to raise 3 children. You wouldn't have known, because she was doing what she was doing in front of us on the camera, being beautiful, being wonderful, being her, and still being a mother at the same time. It's just very, very inspiring.
A lot of her story happens here in Chicago. She's crowned the Queen of Soul here.
Yeah.
Also, the series kind of reveals a point in her life where she makes a decision, I think, almost that I'm going to have to start changing some of the people and situations around me. Talk a little bit about the evolution of Aretha.
I think that's a thing that was almost a pattern. She was very good at seeing when the space around her was not befitting of the world that she wanted for herself. She was very good at spotting that. And so she was wonderful at moving on and leaving things that weren't right for the life she wanted for herself behind. And it was really interesting to see that. And sort of affirming, I think that as women, sometimes we stay in things much longer than we need to, or we keep other people around we don't need for them more than anything, because we want to take care of them, or we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but really it's at the detriment of ourselves. And I think that what she was able to do was make sure that she was able to triumph as well, to allow it almost to change that thought process, that by letting someone go, she was also helping both herself and the other person, because if one person is not right for someone, you're probably not right for each other. So letting someone go is probably helping the both of you. And I think she did that really beautifully.
Yeah, it's a gift to yourself and the other person, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
As a singer, was it difficult to avoid the temptation to not do an impersonation of Aretha?
Yes, but I also knew in my head that that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do an impersonation. I wanted to make sure that the qualities that she had in her singing style, in her voice, were there, but trying to mimic her voice, I don't know that would serve anyone. And I also think that would have been a distraction, because it's like, is she doing an impersonation? Is it quite right? Is like, that doesn't, I don't think that helps to tell the story. So I from the offset, I told myself that that's not an impersonation. It's, I'm trying to make sure that we understand the mechanics of how she was using her voice a lot. And so for me, it took a lot of listening and making sure that we could get it to a T, but without completely changing what I already have in my own voice, just sort of marrying the qualities that she had with mine. Yeah.
No, it was a great blend.
Thank you.
Favorite Aretha song?
Favorite Aretha, just in general?
In general.
Ain't No Way is my favorite song.
Ain't
No Way is my favorite song. I just think it's a heartbreaking love song that now everyone is starting to know, but I've known for a while, and it just makes me happy to sing. It's a beautiful song. But whilst I was doing this, You're All I Need to Get By, that crept up as a new favorite. The flavor in that song, the way she sings it is just dreamy. So yeah.
Well, good. I'm so happy for you. I love that you got this. I love how well you did with it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
So Cynthia is really proud of the work she did in this series. It is a multi-hour production. So we're with the film, what we'll be looking at on screen will be probably maybe 3 hours, I would imagine, with the length of content that we have to enjoy about Aretha's career. But this series is 8 hours of acting that she did. So really exhausting and sounds like very fulfilling work that Cynthia did. And I encourage everyone to check that out and decide what they think about it. We also spoke with the actors that portrayed the people around her. One of those was Courtney B. Vance, who takes on the role of C.L. Franklin, the legendary pastor who was her father, preacher with the $1 million voice. And we spoke to Cheyenne Jordan, the young talented actress who portrays her as a child. They really represent two parts of Aretha's life that many of us don't know much about: the way she grew up and the role that her father played. Let's listen to Courtney and Cheyenne as they talk about kind of shaping the character of Aretha Franklin.
Thank you, Tyra. Girl
How
from
are you?
Chicago. Are you a girl from Chicago?
I happen to be a girl from Chicago. Yeah. So it works out. You take on a character, or do we have both talent?
Yes, Cheyenne is right here.
Okay, good. Hi. Oh, look how cute you are. Hi. Courtney, I'm going to start with you, though. You take on a character of sorts that people don't know a lot about. I think they may have heard something about Aretha's dad, and they know that she came from the church, but this limited series kind of reveals a lot about their relationship that I think most, pedestrian fans don't know. Was that daunting to you to kind of present a personality that people may feel some kind of way about?
No, I didn't know, not at all, because I didn't know anything about it. And I'm from Detroit. So, it's all education for me. It's all opportunity to learn and to try to put ourselves in their shoes, which was very, the 60s and the 50s and the 40s and 30s was a very frightening time for a person of color. There was nowhere to go. if somebody, you couldn't even look at a white person wrong. You couldn't look at him, period. And if you did, your parents, nobody could protect you. It was like, okay, there he is, he's in there. It was, so from that, to know that they crafted a life out of that ugliness and found a way to, as a pastor, to have a mansion and, to do a march on Detroit with 100,000 people, that Martin Luther King, who was his best friend, he tried out his "I Have a Dream" speech, there. That was the, so I mean, to go from somebody that should have been a sharecropper, like his stepfather, to the preacher with the $1 million voice, and Aretha, should have stayed in the church, but because she couldn't find her voice. Took 7 years. She should have given up, but she didn't, and that's the victory for me. They didn't give up.
I was gonna say, is that the lesson maybe from this?
For me.
Talk a little bit about the very first images that people see in this series are the two of you riding on a dirt road, and you have an encounter with racism. What's it like? It's a very complicated time right now. Still, I think people are still having those kinds of experiences. What's it like stepping back to tell a story that's happening now?
Sean?
Stepping back to tell a story that's happening now, I feel like being able to kind of see, because of course I wasn't living during that time, but being able to see kind of what people went through was a learning experience for me, and being able to see wow, this is actually what our people went through. This is what Black people had to go through. It was hard to kind of see, but also a learning experience for me at the same time.
Cheyenne, are you singing in these scenes where we see you?
I sing to the track in the scenes, yes.
Was it fun, standing in front of a crowd and becoming Aretha?
Yeah, it was really fun. I'll say again, I was a little bit nervous, my first time singing, because it was my first week there. But also there's always that nervousness that people has. Everyone's a little bit nervous sometimes. But singing something I love to do as well. So being able to share that with people and being able to be in front of people and being able to have fun in that moment was an amazing experience.
I think it's a credit to your talent as an actress, a storyteller, that you were able to harness that anxiousness and bring it through what little Ree probably was feeling. I felt like I was experiencing her anxiety. So well done.
Thank you.
It really was well done. And Miss Tyra, there was a lot of folks in that church that day when she had to come in there, and as a first scene, anybody would be, nervous, but to see her overcome, like Aretha, overcome her anxiety, and to see the church embrace her, which is what the church does. Black church, all the mess I done did, in that church. I would just we would start a scene. I would come into the church. Y'all know what I did. Y'all know what I did. You know what I did it again. But you love me. And we started singing. But that's our church. Mm-hmm. That's their pastor. They know what was going on. They know how bad it was out there for us. And, okay, pastor, we forgive you. Come on, let's go. We got an hour. You got to get us out of here. Come on now.
An hour.
I forgot. No, that's today.
Right.
We got 4 hours. That's all right, pastor.
Okay, last question. Favorite Aretha song?
Respect.
Dr. Feelgood.
Why Dr. Feelgood?
It's that groove that they found, that that she's, everything starts with that piano. She sits down at that piano and starts singing, and starts that groove going, and it's something happens to you on the inside. So and they talking about the doctor, but they ain't talking about the doctor. They ain't talking about the doctor. Dr. Feelgood. Ooh, and that's not for you right now.
Thank you so much. Wonderful work from both of you, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we know what's going on at the Vance home. Thank you to all of them for the time that they gave us for those interviews. So these people obviously adore Aretha Franklin, as do you and I, but we didn't really get to spend a lot of time with her. Many of us never got to meet her. I had the great high honor of sitting with Aretha for an interview a few years ago when she was at the Chicago Theater. And one of the highlights of my career and personal life, just as a human walking around on the planet, certainly as a Black woman. And but I didn't get to spend a lot of time with her. When we sat down with her, she talked about the importance of her performance and all of the work and effort that goes into what she does. One of the people that play an integral part in that, obviously, is her music director and conductor. We had the opportunity today to sit and meet Fred Nelson III. He's going to join us. He was Aretha's musical director from 2011 to her final performances. He joins us now.
Hey there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
When did you meet Aretha Franklin? Tell me about the day you met Aretha Franklin.
Wow, this is going to be a little funny. Basically, I got a call from her and she said, send me a resume, blah, 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 blah. She says, okay, and we'll talk. Never heard really back from her. Next thing I know, her agent is calling saying, Fred, get a ticket for Tuesday. And I'm like, well, I really officially haven't been hired yet. I said, she didn't call me. He says, she didn't? He says, I'll call you right back. He calls back in about 3 or 4 hours. He says, just give me the information. Let me get your ticket. I couldn't get her. So he said, you'll be in New York. So I said, okay. So I went to New York, rehearsed the band. And let me just mention this right up front. I had never rehearsed with Aretha in my life. We never ever had it. So she says, I called her. I said, what do you want me to do? What do you want? She said, just rehearse the band, and the horns, everything is there. And I said, okay, and I'll see you tonight. She said, come by my dressing room maybe an hour before show. So I get there. Security says she had just come off another hiatus, and the paparazzi was just everywhere. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, well, Fred, just stand by. Okay, it's showtime. 10 minutes before showtime. Fred, you probably should go to the stage. I've never laid eyes on this woman at all. She comes on stage. We open up. We do the overture. We do that whole thing. She comes on the stage. She looks at me, and we're about maybe, because it was a tight stage that night. It was a special event. And she looks at me about 2 feet away. She looks at me. She says, hi, how are you? And I said, hi, how are you? And we went on and did the show. That's when I met Aretha Franklin.
The night you worked with her was the night you met her.
I was on the stage conducting the band.
Wow. Before that moment, what had your experience been with her music? How did it, because you're a prodigy yourself. You come from a musical family. Well, it's true. You come from a musical family rooted in the same, faith, traditions. And so I would imagine that there was probably a current of familiarity before meeting her.
Yes, there was. And there was a relationship. The church I grew up, First Church of Deliverance, and her church, knew about her father and my godfather, who was a pastor, First Deliverance, were very close. So the churches sometimes would meet up and we'd, but there was this connection, definitely. And it was a deep spiritual connection as well. So, and I came out of the same kind of upbringing like Aretha, where we did all kinds of music in my house. It wasn't just gospel. My mother played the Supremes, the blues, blah, blah, blah. My father, was an organist. He played spirituals. He played classical. So we had it all, my sister and I. And that's how we came up, same way Aretha did. And she was introduced to us. So there was always a connection right away. But there was always a spiritual connection.
During the time that's you. During the time you were working with Aretha Franklin, it would have been the period where she was kind of preparing Jennifer Hudson to portray her. Tell me about their relationship and what Aretha hoped to see in the depictions of herself.
Well, she really had been kind of deciding how she wanted this movie to happen for a very long time. And I consulted for Jennifer for probably some years back, at least for probably almost 8 to 10 years now. And just recently started playing with her, and serving as her MD for other things. But, Aretha said, Fred, I just don't know, because after Halle Berry turned the role down, which, Halle Berry's not really a singer, so she wasn't going to be comfortable in that role. And she says, I think I want Jennifer to play this role. She says, what do you think? I said, I think she would be great. She said, I think that's what I want. So when I talked to Jennifer, and Jennifer, we ran into each other on the same job one night, and she says, do you think Aretha likes me? I said, oh, I'm sure she does. Well, she said, I just can't tell. I said, well, that's kind of how, Aretha's. So she says, I told Aretha, she says, yes, tell her to email me. So they emailed, and the rest is history, as they say. And she talked to Jennifer about playing that role, and that's what happened,
What was it that she saw in Jennifer that she hoped would really capture her spirit?
I think Jennifer comes from the same background, a spiritual background. She doesn't consider herself a gospel singer, which is good, even though you could hear that she did grow up in the church. And I think that's what attracted Aretha, because they both come from the same place. I don't care what Aretha's saying. Any night we were performing, oh me, oh my, I'm a fool for you, baby, whatever it was, Aretha put church in it. When we sang our closing song every night was Freeway of Love. And when we got to the verse, freeway, and then after a while that would turn into, she look at the background singers and they knew to flip it. And then they start singing Jesus. So Jesus in her mind was the freeway to love.
Right.
And the people would just go crazy.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I loved about Aretha, her music, I don't care what she's saying, all came from the same place, from within out. So much today you see it's so different. Everything is without, trying to reach the people with it. But she came from within out, and she sang from that place inside of her. I don't care what it was. And I would tell the band, I would tell the horn players, we hired horn players in every city we went. I say, guys, let me let you know. You don't know what's going to happen on this show. You really don't know. If she goes left, we go left. And I said, if she goes a different direction and it's not on the music, I'm going to tell you stop playing and I'll find another place to bring you in. So I said, but know this, at the end of this show, this is nothing but glorified church, and you will be baptized. And that was it, and they just love. I don't care who was on that stage. When she walked on that stage, it just transcended and went through the whole band. And
she was such an amazing performer, but I heard you say in an interview once that you noticed that her eyes were closed often when she was singing, that she kind of liked to just kind of disappear into the music. Talk a little bit about that. Why you think that was?
Well, I think it was just, maybe the connection. She always wanted to connect with the music. And, I don't care how many set lists we did. I would go in and talk to her hour before show. And of course we would talk before show, but she would say, Fred, okay, we're going to change. Which show were you at in Chicago?
Chicago Theater.
Okay, because we did 3 of them there, I think.
This was, let me think of the year.
Because the first year I did one there was 2011.
It may have been 2011. It was after 2011, I think.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because she loved coming to Chicago.
Yeah.
She loved her here, And, at the last minute, I'm getting ready to do the overture, and then I hear security calling me off stage. Fred, come here. Aretha wants to talk to you. She changes the set list, the first to a song we had never rehearsed.
Wow.
So I said, okay. So we did that. Then when she got on stage that night, she turns, she says, A Night with the King, which is a song that Juanita Bynum had originally recorded. And we used to carry around probably six crates of music with 368 songs in them. So at any given point, Aretha would just call a song that she wanted to do.
Wow.
And she called A Night with the King that night. And I think she really did it for herself more than anything. It ended up being the hit of the show. And we had never rehearsed it. So she always went to that place inside of her. And you always knew that's where she was, like you said, when her eyes were closed. She was inside. And that's, you know, I don't think there'll ever be another.
No, absolutely not. And that's what I garnered from the people who, you know, at these tributes who sing Aretha's songs, from Cynthia, Erivo. No one, even Jennifer Hudson, God bless her, who's a powerhouse and we love, it does not sound like Aretha Franklin. No one is going to sound like Aretha Franklin.
There will never be another one. And, you know, and Jennifer's doing great. I mean, Jennifer studies everything about her.
She's a student. Yeah, she's a scholar.
She studies everything about her. She looks at footage. She reads books. Every book she can find, she reads it. So she did a really good job with the movie that's getting ready to come out. And, you know, I was able to work with her with that on as well. You know, she wanted some sweetening with the music. So it felt like she really, it felt like Aretha. That's how important it was. And this is after everything's been shot. We had to go to the studio and, you know. So, you know, I don't know if there'll ever be another one. And just as much of a businesswoman and hard-nosed she could be, she was the sweetest thing, you know, sometimes. And like one night she said to me after the show, she said, "Fred, I want to apologize." So I'm going like, okay. And I said, "Why?" She says, "I forgot the words to the bridge. I can't even remember what the song was. And I forgot the words and I just forgot." She said, "I just want to apologize." And I'm standing, I didn't even know she forgot them.
Right. She was that committed to excellence, though.
Yes. And she apologized to me, and I said, "Okay, all right, I'm sure it's not a big deal. You know, let's go on." You know.
Was there a song she was tired of singing, Fred? Because a lot of times you talk to these people who have had the length of career that Aretha had. You know, this is not 10, 20, 30 years. The amount of time that she was singing some of these songs, were there some songs that maybe she talked to you like, can we tweak this? Can we make this a little more unique this time? I can't sing this same song the same way over and over again.
Yes, I'll just say for many of her, especially her big songs, we had 4 or 5 different arrangements in there. Yeah. No, really. And so she was always trying to keep her music fresh. Sometimes she would attempt to do other artists, songs of other artists, and that wasn't always a good idea because the people wanted to hear her music.
Right.
So, you know, but she was always trying to keep herself fresh, you know, and keep her arrangements fresh. She changed the keys, she changed the arrangement. We had several arrangements. You know, I arranged for her, and we had several guys who did arrangements for her, just so she could keep it fresh. And if she didn't like it, she didn't do it. She'd pay them and say, "Okay, you know." So
I can't do Respect tonight. Can't do it.
Yeah. Well, that happened, and that wasn't always a good idea. There were nights where I'll see that. And there was a fun side to her. And I didn't even know she was doing that. And one of the guys sent me the picture later on. I said, "I want you to see something." And I didn't know she was doing it. We were in the studio working on an album or something, you know. But that's who she was. She was fun. She loved to laugh. She told jokes during the shows. I'm sure you heard some of those. You know, they were okay. But, you know, she was special. Very, very special.
She told me about a pasta recipe that was one of her favorite things to cook. Did you ever eat at Aretha's table?
No, I didn't. I was not honored to do that. You know, no. Well, Aretha stayed on the road all the time. So, you know, the few moments that we all had a chance to get home, you know, and then she used the bus. She never did fly.
Right.
You know, she was scared to fly. And, you know, she even talked to me about that a few times. You know, she said, Fred, I'm gonna take this course again. Hey there. I'm at my sister's house visiting my mother. And the dog is like, okay.
Tell the dog we need some RESPECT.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope they'll get him soon. So anyway, excuse me for that.
That's okay.
Always, yeah, get him. Yeah, she took the bus still. So she stayed on the road. You know, sometimes it'd take her a couple of days to get to a location, and then she would get there a day early, maybe 2 days early sometimes before show, and then she stayed maybe a day early, and this was allowing her to rest. So she wasn't like we would just fly in and fly back out. And Aretha stayed on the road sometimes, and don't let us go out west, you know, because it would take her a little while to get there. So, but we would do other stops on the way out there, you know.
As her health began to deteriorate, what was her attitude when she would take the stage?
You know, I don't know if you've ever witnessed, and that's why I know it was a very spiritual thing for her. She called me, we were in Boston, and she called me the night before the show, and she said, Fred, I just don't feel well. And she was crying on the phone. I said, Aretha, it's going to be fine. She said, I don't know if I can do it, and I just don't feel well. And that show, I said, well, because let's see, who was on the show with me? Reverend Eric Thomas was playing organ. What was the gentleman's name from Detroit? These are both pastors that were in the band. And I'm about as close as you can get, but I don't want that. I'm just a minister of music. That's enough. So, and we prayed for her before that show. The three of us got together and we really prayed for her. And I told Aretha, I said, I got 2 pastors in the band and myself. You're going to be all right. So she sang that night like you wouldn't believe. And it always came from within. And I don't know if you've ever seen someone who said they're sick and then once they get on stage, it's like they turn into something. They just transform and something else takes over and just, you forget about the physical, you know. So she knew how to go past that. She did that when we were here at Ravinia the last time. She said, Fred, she was here for a whole week. She said, Fred, I don't know if I can sing tomorrow. But of course she would go out there and just kill it. And but it came from another place, you know.
Did it seem to be wearing on her, or was she in between performances?
It was, yeah. Because the only thing that would take her off the road was her doctors. It wasn't Aretha. And they would just tell her, we looked at your last test before you left home. You got to come home. You got to stop now. And that's what would take it. She would never do it probably if they hadn't told her, you got to come home now. And she took about 2 or 3 hiatuses when I was working with her, you know. Yeah. So, you know, but she, you know, because we had to end up putting a chair. We would sit it right next to the piano. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And just so when she wanted to sit down, she could. And
she had
if you
somewhere.
notice, when I conducted for her, I never stood right behind her. I always stood to the left of her so I could keep my eye on the band and keep my eye on her too. You know, just in case she got a little weak or you never knew. Or a shoe got caught in the floor, which it did a couple times.
Or that coat, I would imagine. I love that she would show up somewhere with a full fur and her purse and be like, and you're going to deal with it while I sing this song.
Look, that's how she was. And we did New York many times. She came down and she didn't tell me she was going to change her entrance. So we're at Radio City and we're doing an overture and Aretha comes down. That's the only place would make her a little nervous sometimes. She thought so much of the New York crowd. She wanted her best for them. She would give me 30 songs to look at before we got there. And knowing she wasn't going to do all of those songs, but she wanted a top. She said, Fred, we got to give the people what they want. We got to give them the best. But she came down. She was so nervous. She came on stage before we started overture in a fur coat
Mm.
and with her back to the audience and her hands on her hips, and I didn't change the overture. It is usually about 5 minutes long. There's like 5 songs in there. And I didn't know she was going to do this. So I was like, oh my God, I know she's tired of standing here like this. And I couldn't tell the band because we had already rehearsed it. And so at the end of the overture, she turned around and threw the coat on the floor. And the show went on, as they say. Yeah, she had her special ways.
Yeah.
Always, it was great. And my hat's off to security. Those guys worked hard, harder than any of us, because, they had to keep up with her, and all of them they were designed the hotel, so all of them had rooms in every area, and somebody's door had to be open all night long.
Really?
Yeah, just to make sure she was okay and nothing was gonna happen.
When was the last time you saw her?
You know what? The last time I saw her was we did Elton John's benefit, AIDS benefit in New York, and everybody who was anybody was there. Clintons, they were all there, and that's another night she called me on stage and said, "Fred, this set list isn't right." I said, "Okay." And we both had it for 2 days. I said, "Well, just tell me what you want me to do." And so we changed the song. But what happened, one of the songs was to a track, Nessun Dorma, and nobody told
Beautiful
sound engineer to change the order of the show. So we're standing there, and I was like, okay, he's not playing this track. Somebody did not inform him. So then we go to the next song. So after the show, this is what's funny. And Aretha was old school, just like those. You mess up just like James Brown, you get a fine.
Right, fine.
So for the first time, everybody in the band's been fined except me. So we get back to the dressing room. She says, "Fred, I'm going to have to dock you $100 tonight."
Okay.
On the inside, I'm laughing. I'm killing myself. And she says, "You left me standing up there looking like a fool." And I'm like, okay. I wasn't going to, you didn't argue with her. Right. I learned that early on. You just like, okay, we'll fix it. I'll make sure it never happens again. Mm-hmm. And and that's my last show with Aretha.
Wow.
And that was in November the year before she passed.
2017.
That was our last show, actually, our very last show, and then she went home. And I didn't, I spoke with her, but I didn't see her anymore. Yeah.
What do you think she was most proud of when looking over her life?
Oh boy. I don't know. You know what? If I had to guess, I would say her accomplishments, and she was really heavy into civil rights because her dad, and she and I talked politics on the phone, forever. I mean, we have long conversations about politics than anything, believe it or not. And like the night Obama first won the presidency, we're on the phone together talking about that. And then Respect comes on and they're playing that in the room when he's, and I said, "There's your song," She said, but she was more into helping people. A lot of things Aretha did for people will never know. It's just like when they had the water problem in Michigan. She rented out a whole hotel so those people could go have somewhere to go. And all they do is had to show the driver's license or ID, and they could check into the hotel. These are things Aretha did behind the scenes that people just didn't know. And I'm sure there are tons more, but those are just a few things I know. So, she wanted to give back, but I know she was a consummate professional when it came to her music. And, so I don't know if I could guess what that is, because Aretha, when you have a talent that big, you don't know what you're doing because you're really not in control of it. Right. You just get up there and you just do it. And you don't think about, now, here's the one thing though, I had to give her a CD of the show at the end of every show. And the first thing she did when she got in the limo to go back to the hotel was make the driver put that CD in and she listened to the show on the way back.
Immediately. Yeah.
And then I get a call the next morning. Okay, Fred, here are the things we need to look at, and here are the things we need to address. So, she cared about what she did, really, and her dad meant the world to her. Yeah.
Her dad has been a source of controversy with these depictions. How much of it is true, how it may have impacted the way Aretha does business, the relationships that she ended up in early that may not have been the best, but shaped who she became, certainly. Did she ever talk about her relationship with her father?
All I knew is how much she loved him.
Mm.
Anything else, as far as the relationship with her mother and all that sort of thing, she didn't address those things. And this is why the movie, she had been working on getting this movie out, the one Jennifer's doing, for years. And the reason she guarded her life and I'm not so sure how she would have felt about this geographic. She guarded those moments in her life that she felt like the public didn't really.
So was she not only prepared Jennifer, but she was consulting on the Respect film.
Oh yeah. Oh, way ahead. She had set that up before it happened. And even the James Cleveland film, that finally came out, that thing's been out for years. And what's the guy's name? Is it Alan? He was calling me for about 3 or 4 years. Can you talk to Rita so we can release this film?
Because I read that she didn't even want that to come out.
She didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't. And I'm sure it had flaws in it. Like there's one scene where you see the cameraman crawling on the floor doing something, She didn't want it out. And I think one reason is because the way it happened, the guy bought the film. He worked at the plant and he just came across the film on the floor or something. And he asked him, could he buy it? And he mortgaged his house to buy his film. But she fought him in court, even though he legally had the rights. The judges, sided with her. Said, it's her likeness. You can't just go out and release this film. And he really didn't want to because he didn't want that fight. So as a result, it really didn't get released until she passed.
Right.
And the family allowed it, him to do it. And it was good because people really loved seeing that side. But Rita was very funny about it, And I mean, she had PR people working on it. She had them. We were on our way to a show. She said, "Well, how are the tickets going?" If the tickets weren't going well, she canceled.
Right.
She was not.
I don't need to play a half a room, right? I'm Aretha Franklin.
A house that wasn't full. She didn't want.
Right.
She is controlling. She had her hands on everything.
Right.
Everything, even with her agents and everything, And she controlled it all. But she did a great job of it. And she had been through some things where she wasn't treated fairly in the business. But
why did she always ask for the money up front? Is that just old school, or had something happened?
I'm sure probably some along the way, somewhere. And quite honestly, a lot of, especially a female artists, did that, and because she would make them, they would send a deposit. Of course, the agents, she had great agency, but she wanted her cash balance the night of the show. If you didn't do that, we were at Rock. We were at the what's that, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so, everybody's on stage. We had dancers with us on that show. And I'm noticing, I'm like, well, where's Aretha? It's half an hour before show. She's not here. And they wanted to give her a check for her balance. And she was not accepting it.
You better go to a currency exchange.
Now, this is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I get a call from security. Fred, pack up the band. All this. Now I'm knocking on the dancers' room. They curling their hair and all kinds of stuff. I said, pack it all up. We're getting ready to leave. Rita wants us to meet her at her hotel. And so as soon as we get on the vans and all that sort of thing, they say, okay, you guys can go back in. She made them cash that check.
Yeah.
In her cash. So, it was just her kind of thing. She just, and the money stayed in her purse, under the piano.
Or with her, yeah.
And until our cue to end the show, like if she left the stage after the finale, the show was not over until they came and got the purse from under the piano. When we saw Willie come and get the purse, they were like, okay, we can call this show now. We're done. So it was a wonderful experience. I can't tell you. I mean, and I was listening to Aretha early in life, Say a Little Prayer for Me, Say a Little Prayer for You. And my first wife, my late wife, Cynthia, that was her favorite artist. So it's very strange that, and she and my daughter, they used to sing Aretha's music in the car and just to the top of their lungs, And so it was kind of interesting that, Richard Gibbs was the pianist, and she told Richard, she said, Richard, I need a conductor. And Richard and I have a long relationship back here in Chicago. And we've been knowing each other for years. And he said, Fred, you're the only one, you and another guy, the only ones I can do it. So if, you might get a call. And that's how it happened. Wow.
So she was always there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, she's, I knew her. I used to sit down at the piano and copy, her style, try to play like her. So it was a good fit for me. And besides being an arranger and conductor, it was just a good fit. Yeah.
So I ask you the same question I asked the cast of Aretha. What is your favorite Aretha song?
Till You Come Back to Me. Believe it or not, that's my favorite song. And I think probably I'm attracted to it because of the orchestration that was done with it. I didn't know Stevie wrote that tune. But that's my favorite song. And I think, was it Hubert Laws or someone that arranged it? And Hubert Laws was a flute player.
Okay.
And if you listen to that song next to you, you hear flutes throughout the whole song.
Really?
Yes.
And I didn't know Stevie wrote that, but as soon as you said it, I hear it. I can hear him in it. Stevie
wrote that song.
Yeah.
Her. And she and Stevie were very close, extremely close. But yeah, he wrote that song for her. And that's my favorite. I think because of the orchestration more than anything. But I thought it was so tastefully done.
Yeah. What did you learn from your time with Aretha? What do you take away from those years?
To be true to who I am and what I'm doing. And that always wins. That's what I learned. If nothing else, as far as music and that sort of thing. And that's what works, because the guys told me, I wasn't on this show, but they told me one night they were rehearsing, they were somewhere, and in the middle of the show, they were performing somewhere, and I think it was outside a football field. And Rita asked the audience, what do you all want to hear? Knowing she's going to do what she wants. She says, what do you all want to hear? And this guy hollers out from the front row and says, I don't care, just do your own stuff. Because and he didn't say it that nicely, but I guess she had just done this other song that was by another artist right before that. And they would, she did it well. We did it several times, but they always wanted to hear Aretha. Now,
they paid Aretha money to hear Aretha songs.
That's it.
Yep.
But you had to be careful with that, because if she thought you were trying to tell her what to do, or program her for a show, she would do just the opposite.
Yep.
I'm telling you, we did this thing in St. Louis, and the producer said, tell her, because they were reopening the Opera House, the Lyric there, and they said, tell her we only got 45 minutes and we want nothing but the hits. Okay. And these people are sitting in tuxedos, bow ties, long gowns. I told Aretha, she says, okay. When I got the set list, there were no hits.
All B-sides, yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then we did this one gospel number, and she must have sang it for about 20 minutes. So that was the longest show I ever did with her. But they wanted to box her in 45 minutes. She wouldn't have it. We did that show, I think we were on stage almost 2 hours.
Really?
So you had to kind of let her be who she was. And, you know, she said, what do you think, Fred? Yeah, I make recommendations, but that's all they were.
I think what you think. That's what I think.
And if you position it that way, you might get her to listen. You know, I said, yeah,
Right.
You know, we haven't done this in a while. That show we did in Jersey, blah, 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 blah. That was a great lineup. Why don't you, you know, look at that? Well, send it to me. Let me see it. And I sent it to her. And then, you know, we did that show for maybe 3 more weeks. I mean, 3 more shows, you know, but you had to suggest it. You know, so, but you know, it's definitely the top of my life. You know, top experience of my life, and I feel very blessed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and these intimate
thank you.
Memories that could only have come from you.
Oh boy, I got a lot more, but
yeah. Well, we'll have to catch up with you again to get some more of Aretha background stories.
I keep some of them to myself.
Okay, good. Are you going to write a book, honestly? Because, you know, there's the Aretha chapters with an S, which are extensive, but you've worked with so many other people. Are we eventually going to get a book from you?
You know, I've been asked to do that, and I guess since I'm getting to another season in my life, I've thought about it because I forget a lot of these things.
Oh, you got to write it down. Yeah.
I've worked with her, worked with Anita, worked with Jennifer, and I've always worked with these divas for some reason.
Celine, didn't you work with Celine Dion?
Yeah, I played piano on a track for her. Yeah, for Skies of LA, written by a friend of mine here in Atlanta, Tricky Stewart.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. He's the one who wrote Single Ladies, and I've been knowing him since he was crawling on the floor. But he called me out to Vegas to record that with her. So yeah. Maybe one day I'll write something. I don't know. Maybe you can help me with it or something.
Oh, I'd love to. I can't wait to read it. That's for sure.
It would need to be somebody who would ask me questions. And that's what that triggers. Because if I just sat down and started writing it, you know, somebody would have to interview me and say, okay, tell me this, tell me that.
Yeah.
So,
well, you put it out there, so the interview is coming.
All righty.
Me or whoever beats me to you, that's for sure.
One day I have thought about it. And,
great. Well, thank you. God bless you for your work and your time, and we appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me. Really
thank you. Take care.
Hey, Mark.
Mark will probably say hi backstage. Wow. Right? When you get the opportunity to hear firsthand accounts of any story in history, and that's what history is. It's someone has to tell that story. And so thank you again to Fred for sharing those memories and insight into who Aretha was and what her legend and legacy is. So as a woman that we're honoring in March, there's Aretha, who has protected music and culture and social issues, civil rights, and that impact trickles down to everyone who's come in contact or earshot of her voice. And like Fred said, even, you know, the things that she was doing behind the scenes. Another behind the scenes person who I think certainly has benefited from the legacy of the folks like Aretha Franklin and is sowing those seeds for the next generation is our next guest, Juan Teague of Juan and Only Events. She has been around longer than people realize. Her hand is on more than people realize. Her vision is further than most people recognize. And again, which seems to be the theme today, rooted in faith and community and getting things done with excellence. So let's bring my friend, Juan, into the room.
Hey, Tyra.
Hey, girl.
I was like, oh, you made me sound so good.
You are so good. You are so good. And I meant every word. I mean, honestly, you've done so much that people aren't aware of and are constantly thinking deeper and further. Yeah. And so we've seen that. Talk about what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, here, this is the funny thing. At first, I wanted to be a singer, but I quickly realized with my mom, my brothers, I was actually a really good singer until about 13.
Well, how do you stop being a good singer?
My brother them told me like
It wore off.
we used to love the Clark sisters, and so they used to, you know how like with the Clark sisters, they used to call me. They was like, okay, Juan, you the Denise and the Clark sisters. So it was like I had to like just lead the singing. So I left that. I was in Soul Children and stuff like that. So
right.
I literally became like the background. So my brother Jamie, my brother Bruce, my mom is an amazing singer. So they became the singers of the family, and I just became the background alto.
I've been to karaoke night at your house.
I know, right?
It's a lot of singing.
That's when I do my Mary J. Blige just fine. That's the most I can get out and sing, where people can like join me and not feel like, oh, Juan's trying to sing, but you know, yeah. That's what I wanted to be, like doing what I do. And then I wanted to go into business and as far as like in the corporate world. But yeah, singing was my first passion. Yeah.
Well, you really managed to join both.
Right. Yeah. That's what I said. I became like the background of business and entertainment and events and stuff like that in the hospitality industry. So it kind of like all what I wanted to be kind of trickled into what I became. Yeah. Yeah.
You've worked with some of not only Chicago's biggest names, but you know, names that are known around the world. What's been the greatest challenge in corralling some of the you don't have to give anybody's name specifically, but the celebrity of dealing with those people?
Well, a lot of people don't realize is that I'm picky on who I work with. So because the one thing I always tell people what made me do what I think one of the biggest things, my dad was a Cab Calloway fan, right? And back in the day, I got the opportunity to see Cab Calloway perform. And I was just like, oh, this is who my dad loves, you know, and stuff like that. And so one of the things I always wanted is when I became in this space, thanks to Kanye, thanks to Donda West, I always wanted to try to give that a child or someone that feeling I got when I was seeing Cab Calloway. So with all the celebrities that I've worked with, as far as when they're philanthropy space, they're, you know, working with Def Jam and like the labels with creating their events, that was different because that was invite only. But the ones that were really trying to make an impact, I actually didn't just do everyone. There were a lot of people I turned down because I just wanted to make sure they did it with purpose and not do it just because they thought it was a cool thing to do. So that's why, like with the celebrities, I have long-standing relationships with their foundations. It's not that I just wanted to do it to be attached to Kanye, to be attached to Dwayne or Common. I did it because they did it with the right heart. And a lot of people don't know behind the scenes all that they endured to even do what they did. So I stood behind it. But a lot of celebrities I turned down because they just weren't in that space mentally. Yeah.
With the city going through the transition that it's going through now, you had just launched one of the biggest projects that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
You had just really taken on a huge project and the world changed. What was that like as a businesswoman and just as Juan trying to figure out what the plan was?
Well, it's crazy because 2019, I actually decided to leave my full-time job because, you know, I was the director of sales of hotels and have been in hotels for 20 years. And I literally in 2019 decided I want to give this a try. And a lot of it came from just watching my brother Bruce, how he just took the gamble and just said, I want to start my own company. And I just literally said, if I don't try this now, I don't want to die with regret. So I left my full-time job in 2019. I went 2019 literally without pay with Juan and only because I wanted to just see things grow. And in 2020, we were actually lined up for Juan and only to have a stellar year. And then to start the year off, I collaborate with my good friend Nick and open Radius, which is a 55,000 square foot event space. We launched it February 27th, and then the world collapsed 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So real talk, like to see the money just stop, like everything just stopped. At first I was in a really bad place. Like I mentally, when you're a person that always has control, to lose that control, you literally have to go and tap into faith. And that's what I had to tap into. And so what ended up happening is that I literally was specific in my prayer and said, God, I do not want to go in depression. I will not have financial struggles. No one around me will have financial struggles. And you will allow me to take this space and still be a testimony to others. And so what ended up happening is that literally, I tell everybody, COVID stopped my paycheck, but it increased my passion. And so what I just, and when I was walking in that, phase 3 happened. And when phase 3 happened, events and entertainment was not mentioned. And a lot of it, what ended up happening was that people saw our industry, you know, you're in entertainment, you know, doing what you do with WGN, they saw us as fun. They saw us as, oh, we'll start that in 2021, 2022. No one looked at the livelihoods behind it and also understood that those were 1099 workers that didn't have W-2s, that can normally get the regular unemployment. So here it is. I have an industry from travel agents to artists, from DJs to the people that put the stuff on your cars, the pluggers on your cars. Those people who have never been unemployed for the first time, never needed any type of assistance, were stuck because we were such a busy industry. We didn't also have resources to help us. Right. So when I did that prayer, literally that same day, this girl named Megan, who I knew from the hotel industry, she had went off and started her own wedding events planning company. And she called me and she says, Juan, we got to do something. They're not paying attention to us. And she was like, look, because everybody knows me. I tell people straight up, I write like how I talk, right? Which is not the best thing. But not the best thing. But I hire people.
Passionate.
Right. But I hire people to write for me. But and then people were like, yeah, I know what she means. But so she was like, if you write, if she says, if I write it, can you make sure it gets movement? So pretty much we decided, we found out that we needed to basically learn how to lobby. Right. I had to learn how to lobby. I never knew you could lobby on your own behalf. So literally between myself and Megan, we got the stakeholders in the industry. We collaborated with the Illinois Restaurant Association. We collaborated with the Hotel Association. And Megan had a great relationship with this organization called NACE. It's with catering and events. Okay. And so we were able to get on that platform because when you're lobbying, you have to be a part of a platform, and we didn't want to recreate one. So they allowed me to become a member, and then we started this COVID-19 initiative. So long story short, we were able to bring all those stakeholders together. We were able to, with my resources, then reach out to the state and the city. And so by phase 4, mind you, we only had 3 weeks when everybody else had like 8 weeks. We were able to start events. So when people started seeing events can happen and stuff like that, we were able to, within that small time, people start having events safely. So we created the mitigation. So anytime you're doing an event or anything like that, that team that Megan and I created were able to do mitigations so that you can do events safely. And then we took it another step, and we were able to then get those grant dollars, get us added to the grants, so that people from a DJ to a soundboard man, you were able to get between $5,000 to $150,000 because your business was impacted, and you could use your 1099s as long as you did your taxes. And so that was a huge thing to see. Like people from the industry is like, thank you. And you know, with me, that application was just too long. Like it was like 6 pages. So Megan was tripping because I was on the call with the state and was like, y'all application too long. Like y'all only need to know if it's a legitimate business, if they did this, that, did that. And so Megan like texted me like, shut up. And I was like, no, if you don't ask. Sure, they came back to us and literally said, well, can we let you guys look over the form? And we took it from 5 pages to 1.5 pages. And so those are the kind, I think, so that was seeing that entire, us taking what we knew as our resource and not just sitting around, but like literally being a part of knowing that you can do an event. And then we tested it. I actually did during the summer, I did an event, or fall, I did an event with 150 people, 50 in each space. And we followed all of our mitigations. And from that event, no one got COVID because we did contract tracing. So you can definitely, even with the vaccination being out, you should still, do the safety measurements and things of that sort. But literally, I think working with the state and working with the city and making sure we do these things safely is that I know people are like, oh, I'm not going to go out. That's a personal choice. But at the end of the day, I know that I will never jeopardize someone's health. But I also know it's time for me to make money. And it's time for that industry to make money. And don't think of us as just, oh, wait till later. No, because then when we open back up, don't be asking us for free tickets and free drinks because we ain't been working for a year. So we need your money. We need your support.
Right.
We need y'all support.
But there's always one.
Always one. Always one. But you know what, Tyra? I have to say, during this time, I have had some I really, like I said, if I've never seen God, I've seen him this year, not just with grant opportunities, but my family and my friends. Like literally, when I say no financial, I mean, I've had friends that just be like, just put something in my account, or I'll just say, let's go out to eat, or let's do this. So literally, and I try to tell them I'm so grateful because they didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? People would just text me and just check on me because, being in the industry, people just want to be around you when you pop in. Right. And when things are done. So I literally saw that God has blessed me with a great village. And I don't think I would have ever gotten through this pandemic without that support.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And a hard time. What is it? There's a bunch of things that are the best under pressure. Cold pressed down creates diamonds. Olives pressed down creates the oil.
Right. Exactly.
Grapes pressed down create the wine. So sometimes you don't have to, but when you are under that kind of pressure, you see what the results are.
Yeah, you're gonna see you're gonna see yourself real.
Yep.
Real quick. You're gonna see yourself real quick. And I tell people it was okay. Like at the end of the day, and I have to credit my brother Bruce. He called me when this pandemic happened because to know, especially women and men that have always done you taking care of yourself. He literally called me and he said, sis, this is going to be the first time the government is going to be able to assist you. He says, so defer your payments because he knew it was about to impact me. Defer your payments, do this. And literally everything he said, I did. Like for me, I would tell people and I would tell people in my industry, my Juan Teague money stopped completely.
Right.
Juan Teague was like, oh, wait, I can get a link card. Wait, I can get this PUA. Wait, I can get this.
That's what that stuff exists for.
That's why it exists.
Right.
That's why it exists. And the thing is, I tell people, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
We always see that there's something wrong with it, but the reason why the government is happening is because your business was impacted. I'm not trying to manipulate the system and stuff like that, but those things were due to me because guess what? Since I was 16 years old, I've been paying my taxes. Now, don't worry, I had some ratchet years in there, but outside of them ratchet years, I was legit.
Right. That's your money.
Right, they basically paying me back the money I did. So I think what people needed to understand is during this time is that to get that assistance, it is okay to get the grants. It was okay. And that's why pretty much my Facebook and my social media really changed into more trying to give information because a lot of it was lack of knowledge in a lot of areas. So that's what I enjoyed about, that the pandemic situation is that it literally helped me increase my passion in helping people.
Yeah. And opened up a completely new realm of experience for you.
Oh yeah.
There's things you know how to do now that you wouldn't have known how to do.
100%. I've really seen how speaking to your government and letting the government understand that the government will listen to you if you go in the right, I wasn't trying to bash anyone, but I was also very upfront. And I would tell them, I'm like, who do you guys think I said, if they're not your employees filming these press conferences or things, I said, you do realize they're 1099 workers. Some of them are 1099 workers. Everyone is not. People that do your events and your political things, those are 1099 workers. I said, so everything you need to be in that seat most likely came from a gig worker. Like real talk. So
honestly,
help us out. Like literally help us out right now. So they got it. They apologized, and it's and like I said, I'm working, like even now, I'm working with the city now with for the next 3 years, trying to bring back tourism. Well, we're not trying. We're going to bring back tourism and culture back to the city of Chicago. And I am really glad that I'm on a committee that not only wants to look at bringing it back to downtown, but bringing it to the neighboring neighborhoods that are vibrant. And I was honest with them. I said, we have 77 neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. And I said, I don't want to go into all of them. So we're gonna basically be in the neighborhoods that we actually can see tourism and things of that sort, and work with those neighborhoods, because right now downtown's not popping, up north, nothing's popping right now. And we have to change the narrative that most of the talent comes from the west and the south side, but they're only featured on the north and downtown.
Right.
So we have to change that and make some of that stuff start to just blend a little bit better. And the way you can cause diversity and things mixing up is through entertainment.
And that's work you started before the pandemic.
Oh yeah. I started it before. Like I was very intentional, even with the festivals, working with React, bringing Man Beyond the Beach to the south side, and then bringing Spring Awakening's 30,000 White People to the west side. And I literally did that to show that to stop that narrative also that all Black neighborhoods are bad. Right. What it is that there's lack of opportunities. And so what we did, we purposely put them by CHA. Well, I did. They were basically by projects. And what we did was we allowed them to sell their liquor snowballs, they loose cigarettes, they rock. We let them sell the parking spots because we're coming in their neighborhood.
Right.
And then we also let the community police. So we didn't have all these police around. But what happened is that weekend went to one of the most, like the top weekend where violence didn't happen because people were making money. We allowed them opportunities. And so when you do that, so it went from us being like, no, we don't want you to, when are you guys coming back? But we gave jobs, we gave contracts, and we weren't just giving free tickets. So that just shows when you give opportunities in these neighborhoods and we all work together collectively, that when everyone makes money, when it's fair, then you see the whole thing change. And it's not just you're in a Black neighborhood. No, you can come and having a great event in a Black neighborhood. So it really started with that. And, thanks to the Commissioner Kelly, who has been putting me on these platforms and being a voice for Blacks and Hispanics, because, my name Juan too. So, I got a lot of Hispanic friends too. So
right.
Gotta look out for them. But, and I just believe and even with me, the stuff that I'm doing now with, Terry, everybody knows the Juan and is Terry, my cousin and basically business partner, is that we're not just talking it, we're investing in our own community. So we're building stuff on the west and the south side. And, instead of us doing all of our stuff, because if I'm saying I'm still going to do stuff downtown and things of that sort, but I have to start bringing stuff to the west and the south side even more.
Right. What I hear throughout your story is the relationship.
Yeah, it is.
Intentional relationship building.
And you know what the crazy things, like Tyra, how we know each other. It was just organic. Like, I didn't know you was this big deal at WGN.
Because I'm not.
It makes so people, let me tell you, Tyra, when people call me, "Whoa, Tyra Martin." I'm like, yeah, that's my girl. Like, so I think when you meet people organically, like I didn't meet you trying to know what you do on WGN. We just met each other organically, and our careers built together. We work out, we eat, we chill. And I think when you have organic relationships and don't just meet people like, I need to get this from you, I think you will see so much happening. So with me, I'm always very intentional. People be like, Juan is not approachable. Sometimes if I'm at an event, please don't talk to me. Talk to my team, because I'm focused on the big show. But if you are just at my house or you and we just chilling, I'm very approachable, but I'm more approachable when I know people are just organic and genuine. And that's why I have friends since freaking grammar school, because my parents taught us to be authentic, be genuine, but be honest and transparent. So if you're a ratchet friend, you ain't gonna be my friend no more. You know what I mean? So I think relationships are huge, and protecting those relationships are even a bigger attribute to have. Because
the one and only team, those are the same faces I have been seeing.
Oh, for years.
For decades, yeah.
And all of them will tell you they have went through this rigorous process with me, but I think I'm fabulous. But here's the thing, with my one and only team, and I tell people, this is how you can see when you have a great team. And there's a lot of companies that you see the faces change all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, with me, I just don't want to see my team, because a lot of them are, are event driven per event. And my thing was, I just didn't want to see them succeed with one and only, but what they wanted to do personally. So you have people like Mary Tess, who was my assistant at the hotel. She was yes. And now she's this big deal in an interior design company, but she will still come and prick my hair and make sure, what do you need, Juan? Because with me, that one and only becomes my family. So you're going to always see those familiar people, because they have the heart of me. They have the heart of what I was raised on, and they know we're family at the end of the day. And so when one person can't do it, and then they know if I come for them, they know I'm coming out of love and perfection and not trying to be belittling. Right. So yeah, but no, my team is strong.
Yeah. Strong. Let's bring the rest of the crew in. I want to talk to everybody as we talk about reopening up the city and what that means for you and the rest of the group. And about how amazing was that conversation with Fred about Aretha?
Oh, that was amazing.
And there he is.
To be an alto.
Oh, there he is. He's still here.
Yeah.
So check this out. Check this out before you start talking about alto, Juan. Hold on. Before you start talking, I know you. Just hold tight. We want. She's my boss at times too, guys. So check this out. I got to tell you about the story how me and Juan met, but I wanted to do this for real. When I tell you how me and Juan met and how me and Tyra met, the stories behind both of them.
It is.
I mean, really good stories. Hear me? But I wanted to say this. A reason why Fred is still here, because we had an opportunity to do a tribute with the city to Aretha Franklin, and we had an awesome opportunity to work with Fred. And when I tell you, that was life-changing, educational, all at the same time. And it was an honor for us because, and when I called in to talk to him, I thought, I've been knowing Fred for years, but when it's business is business and friendship is friendship, as one just got to say. And when I thought Fred was going to be like, listen, let me tell you something. It's my way or the highway. Because again,
and that's a one-way highway.
Listen, again, listen what I'm saying. Because again, a friendship is one thing, business is another. This man worked with Aretha Franklin personally for years. I'm just doing a tribute, okay? And controlling me and Reggie and doing a tribute. So it's like, listen, sir, I personally work with her, so you're going to listen to me. And let me tell you something. No, for real, no, seriously. It was actually the opposite. From the time he walked into rehearsal, he's like, Mark, what do you want? I'm here. You tell me what you want to do. And I'm like, huh? And my Donna, I always bring Donna Lawrence had always said, listen, he's the music director. You listen to him. You know how Donna is like, listen, he knows, educate, and he knows her. So whatever he says, that's what you should do. So, I mean, Donna had already set me up. But again, he came in with such a passion, such humility was there. And it was just great all the way around to work with you, Fred. So, Reggie, I just wanted to have you come in and tell you thank you for just allowing us to be a part of history making and what you brought to it. I mean, he brought almost like the original band, almost, right?
Yeah. As many of us that were here, yeah, absolutely. And it was a pleasure working with you guys. It really was. You all were so. Y'all had it going on. I didn't have to do a whole lot,
Listen, but again, because we brought like together all female choir directors, then in charge of choirs. And so at first I wanted all female background BGBs, but then a couple of singers was like, no, this kind of has some males and that kind of balance. And I said, okay, cool. Cause I just want it to be totally just the band be who it is and just totally females representing and saluting Aretha. But again, everybody from Janice Sutton, Angie Spivey, Cynthia Nunn. Am I missing anybody, Reggie?
Bridget Hurt. We had Tommy and Toby and Tommy. We had Keisha McFarland and Kaya Holmes. The flyer is available to share for you. If we could share it.
I wasn't available that night.
Yeah, no. We saved you especially for something else. So that's the reason why, but we got you one. I promise you. But there's the flyer, guys. Again, we had an amazing time. And Fred, again, thank you so much for just your knowledge, your input. And I mean, of course, he would know how Aretha would want the songs sang, and how he would want them to be portrayed. And just again, it was an honor to work with you, man. And of course, you know, we've worked together with Gospel Fest for years, but this particular segment here was major and an honor to us because, again, first of all, to be asked to do a tribute to the Queen, and then to get an opportunity to work with her music director was definitely an honor. And again, man, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, it was an honor, and you were. I saw another side of you I didn't know as a producer. That was something to see. You and Reggie were just like, okay. So it was great, man. It was wonderful. And Aretha would have been really, I mean, I'm sure she was. I'm sure she was shining, looking down on us.
Oh, that's great.
And I know she was happy. And
so Juan, who's an alto, but also very critical at times, and she said the truth for real. She texts me, it's like, yeah, this is good. Juan texts you, and a couple other people, you know, they text you that, yeah, this is great. This is great.
Was great. No, it was. I mean, you know, I tell Mark and Reggie. I mean, I've been there from the first Raggedy show to what y'all doing now. You all have come a long. Oh no, you have to tell people your testimony. You all were Raggedy. You come a long way. You come a long way.
Okay, so we're going to get to that. So now that she put us out there with the Raggedy part of it. So again, here I am. I am a gospel artist. Now I love all genres of music. So that side of the entertainment industry, I was getting my feet wet. Didn't know very much about. Of course, now Juan is the lady that's doing this. All right. So first of all, before we even get into that, let's talk about how we met.
Yeah, so, how we met.
You gonna publicly tell people this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna do this because again, you go back to what you said about knowing somebody for who they are and not what they can do. That's the reason I'm gonna tell it. Okay, so Juan, it was me, Donald Lawrence, and Richard Smallwood, and we was at an event that was invited to by Donald West that Kanye West was at. So Juan comes out and she sees me, Donald, and Richard. She's like, "Oh my God!" And like she was like a big fan of all three of us, right? And so Richard and Donald gets it. Me, I'm saying like, God, this woman is so hot. She please. I mean, I'm like, God, like
she took us around to everybody too. She had Richard and Donald meeting everyone in the room. This is so and so. This is so and so. This is so and so. The whole night.
The whole night. But me, not getting it. Right? Not getting it. And I'm like, so I don't think I just see is this really, because now one has a hyper side. We're twins. She's just female male. She's hyper side, and then she has that calm business side that you really don't want to mess with when she's there. So she just, and so okay. So I had a concert coming up, right? So like, okay, fine. She said, I want to come to the concert. I said, Richard was in for the concert. I said, hey, fine. Talk to Reggie. Here I go, send her to Reggie. The man, talk to him. He'll make sure you're fine. So Reggie gets all the information, invites her down. Fast forward, she gets to the
pause. Wait, pause. He said, here's Reggie. I said, oh, we doing the assistant thing?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, here's Mary Tess. This is what I told him. I said, hey, I'm gonna be late because I was doing a red carpet for, I think it was during December, so something big that was going on in entertainment. And I wanted, because I'm a huge gospel fan, so I wanted to sneak off of that event and come to Mark's thing that was all the way in Indiana. I even told the event was free, Tyra. I said, I know I'm going to be late. I'm going to give you $100 a seat so that you guys save my seat. He said, oh, okay. I'm going to give you to Reggie. I'm like, okay, we're doing that. So, okay, now.
So again, me not knowing. So again, so I give it to Reggie. Reggie had another thing, because again, I just see this hyper young lady standing beside me doing all this she's doing. So she gets to the event and she sends her assistant in who's of another persuasion. So she comes in, hey, okay, agent, you go ahead and say, and she come in, so we in this high praise. And so one says she runs out and starts crying, oh my God, they're going crazy. Something like they said.
She said, some lady is shaking and just about to pass out.
So
they was in that shout.
So again, now listen. Now I forgot that one said she was going to be late. Now again, Reggie is the calm, nice side of the organization. So he's in the choir stand singing, so he can't do anything. So they come tell me that one's in the back, she can't get in. I'm like, okay. What do you want me to do about it? It's packed. So she leaves. Fast forward, she leaves, and she leaves not feeling too good about Mark Hubbard. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all.
None at all.
Mary Tess got in the car like, who is this man? He doesn't know. Who is he? We tried, I think it was a Broadway opening or something. Like, we literally leave somewhere where we're on the red carpet and have front row seat to come to Indiana and wait, who is he? Because it was a small little church too. She's like, what are we doing this for?
So again, Juan leaves not feeling good. When I tell you the name Mark Hubbard in Juan's mouth was not a good name that night. So, but this is what she does to me. So in the back of her mind, she's thinking like Juan does. So all of a sudden, I get this invitation to this huge, big event at what's the hotel?
Hotel Saks.
Yeah.
And when I get there and I get in line, I walk up to it. I think Terry was at the table. I think Terry may have been at the table. They walk me in. They sit me down this VIP. All this great stuff and going on, stuff like that. And I'm like, man, this is cool. This is nice. Then all of a sudden, here comes Miss Hyper. And she walks up to me and she says, hey, how you doing? I said, fine. She said, you enjoying all this? I said, yeah. She said, good. I did this, and walked away. When I tell you, she taught me the best lesson ever. The lesson learned there was you have to be careful of how you treat people. Because they say you be entertaining the angel. I was entertaining Miss Chicago. Hear me? And she let me have it in such a small manner. And I was like, oh my gosh, she let me have it. But the thing, I always tell her what I loved about the fact of our relationship, because that just brought a totally different side of our relationship. Then she starts teaching me how to do certain things in the industry, because events was not my major. And so, she's the one that taught me everything that I know about it. And then all of a sudden, she was also the person that pushed me out there to be more of a people person, to get in and interact with people and stuff like that. But what I loved about our relationship is that I did not become friends with Juan because of who she was and what she could do. And see, that's a difference when people meet you, because a lot of people, and I said, because she's on here, a lot of people sometimes want to be friends with Juan because they know her connections and who she's connected to. And I was just honored and grateful I always say to myself is that that's not how our relationship started. So therefore, it makes me feel good, although she let me have it real good. And I felt, when I tell you I felt like this, I felt lower than
Tyra,
that.
he was up there turning up like, yeah.
I did all of this.
She said, yeah, I did all of this.
And eating free, you're doing all this?
Yes.
You just got bumped the line?
Right.
Everything.
I
didn't have to wait in line.
I never text him. I never emailed. All I did was send the invite. And when he RSVP'd, I said, Mary Tess, take care of him like we take care of you. She's like, really? Mary Tess was like, really?
Bless your enemies.
Listen, I want an enemy at that time. I just want a good friend.
Right.
But when I tell you that's the best lesson ever learned. So from that point, when I tell you, if a little squirrel come in, they want to invite me to somebody, I say, how you doing? You good, squirrel? No problem. I don't know who you are, but it was the best lesson ever learned. And I'm glad she was the one that taught it to me. But then let's fast forward to, I finally met Tyra through Juan. This is how we got connected. We were at the Dwayne Wade event to judge. And so again, me not knowing who Tyra was, just me again being Mark. Lord, I'm so glad I grew up real fast. Not being Mark. I thought, hey, okay, hi Tyra. Who's Tyra? So, and then all of a sudden, after we get through, one was like, do you know who that is? I'm like, oh, she says she's the executive segment director for WGN News. I was like, let me go back and try and reverse this. And my thing to me is like, Mark, you should have learned the first time when Juan set you straight the first time. You still didn't learn, huh?
Let me tell you my favorite Tyra Martin. Let me tell you I don't know if you remember this, but we went to a premiere and Kanye was doing that one movie with the bird, the video. Okay, and this girl came up to Tyra, because I know Tyra my homie, like we don't really talk business, like we don't really I'll tell somebody Tyra. Only time I would ask Tyra for a favor, she know I really need it. But other than that, I go through my PR teams and stuff like that. So we were at this event, and so you really don't know how big of a deal your friends are until you go somewhere with them. And this girl came up to Tyra, and she was like, oh my God, I've been trying to meet you forever. You're really good. I remember this. Tyra says, oh, you have? So your first introduction, you're drunk and you smell like weed and you want to say hi. I wanted to fall.
Well, that sounds like me.
That is you.
That is Tyra.
Like, but it was so true. But that's what I said. This is why she's my friend.
So let me fast forward to an event, and I have to leave the artist's name. I can't name the artist. I cannot tell it.
No, you cannot.
I cannot. It was a huge, when I tell you, multi-Grammy award-winning artist. I mean, known throughout the land,
The world.
the world.
The world.
But I had set up, and again, Tyra's like, I don't like you. I wasn't a publicist. I was out of my lane again, just not in my lane, just out of my lane. But anyway, I was trying to help a young person out to set up an interview for this particular artist. But this particular artist was late. You can't be late for television, live television. It's always
She don't care who you are.
Who you are.
Ooh,
And
no.
none of the Tyra, hear me?
Right.
The clock bows to nobody.
Nobody.
And none of it's Tyra. You hear me? All thing I know is that when the artist first arrived and the art finally arrived and they was walking in pretty slow, like, you're gonna have to move a little faster. Come on, this artist like,
Look, well, finish telling the story. Because here's the thing: you don't have time to print now. You don't have time to stop and chit chat and whatever with your hair people, and
it's time to go. So then the person that I got this interview for called themselves going to
check me. I guess they
Yeah.
thought.
When I tell you, I cannot tell you everything that she said, but not one, because she doesn't cuss. Not one curse word came out of her mouth. Not one ghetto word came out of her mouth.
I gotta
When I
work
tell
on that.
you, huh?
I gotta work on that.
But when I tell
You're cute.
you, by the time she got through it, that little boy is what I think that's what he felt like. Look, by the time they got, I was in the corner like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for this person. I was sorry. And then there's just like this one right here. It's got to and you know when somebody do that, and then we look at this one's got to go. And they don't even look at you, you be like, oh my God. One of those like, stop talking, little person. I won't say what I have to say. I have never in my life saw somebody get checked like that, and just in television. Now, in real life, Juan, you know how we do it. It's a little different when we check somebody, because I've seen. Give that one. Listen, she had this big event at High Rock Hotel, and so she had basketball celebrities. I mean, celebrity basketball players there. And so I called myself again, working, helping out, and so we couldn't move the crowd. One took her shoes off. And when you know that's something, take her shoes off and put the hair up. She moved the basketball player. She moved every car there. She was talking to people in the street like, if you don't move, and then they would move like this. I was like, what is this? I mean, you got big old bouncers like this, and we couldn't get nobody to move her up. And she didn't care what team you played for. You're blocking my traffic. You got to go. And then the next event, they was right there like, hey, Juan. So it's just like they respect what she does and who she is. It did not change a bit. But when I tell you she walked out there with no shoes on in the street, took her shoes off and put her hair up, she said, y'all not doing it. I said these people got to go. And she moved every last one of them.
But let me tell you what the difference is, why she continues to have success and be able to work with those people is because business and friendship are two different things sometimes. You can be friendly in business and sincere in business, but I think a true friend isn't going to play you.
Right.
While you're trying to do business, and they respect that.
Exactly.
Right. Which is the reason why Reggie and I so enjoy the fact of being connected to Lady D. She's new to the team, so she doesn't know all these stories in the background. But we are so honored to be connected to what I consider to be two of the most powerful women in the industry and in the world. I love both of you guys as sisters and as friends. All jokes aside, for real, because you guys have taught us so much, but then also you have so much into our lives, and into the business that we have now. Next Showcase USA, literally, we had one desire for it to be one way. Juan came, talked to us, and then it turned to another direction. And that direction that it turned to it made it even more successful than what we had in mind. So sometimes it's good to listen. A lot of times it's good to listen to people, even when you have a vision, because okay, you may be right here, but they can see past what your goal is and help you even further in your vision. And so sometimes people so close-minded until they like, no, this is my way. It's got to be this way, and this is how it's going to happen. And no, it's going to be all right the way I want it. But we was just glad enough to be able to be open-minded because we respect what she does, to know that, listen, you're just not starting this. This person she has been in this industry for years, knowing how to do it, how to work it. She's been successful because she knows what she's doing.
I think that goes along too, is that being around like-minded people where you can have people still to this day, like, if I'm not around people challenging me and wanting me better, I'm around the wrong people. And I think when you're around people, when they're giving you constructive criticism, they want to see you grow. Like with me, I said, there's nothing to me great about me being on top and me telling all my friends. I always tell people, like, when people are like, Juan, where do you see your next 5 years? I said, the next 4 years, everyone around me that is attached to me will be multimillionaires in the next 4 years. And when I speak that is because you can sit with me and I'm going to give and give and give into you when I trust you. Now, if I don't trust you, that's a different situation. But when you're around like-minded, and I think with Mark, you, even with Tyra, like all of us, is that even, just knowing everyone, when you're around great people, hey, Nikki, hey, Sharice, my girl's on too. So anyway, and literally when you find yourself around great people, and I'll have to say, even doing what I did with what I did in government, it was because of the women that were connected with me going on these walks. Like, I was actually a sponge, like, tell me how to do this, tell me how to do this. So when you have friends around you that want you to see you grow and say, like, I would call Mark, okay, y'all can't do this, y'all can't do that, y'all can't do this, y'all can't do that. It wasn't that I was beating them up, and I didn't do it publicly. I did it privately to say, this is how you do it. And I'd be like, you ain't got to mention my name. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Because especially as Blacks, there's been too much of Blacks just wanting. When I tell y'all it's so much money out here to be Black right now, it's so much. It's so much. And I want to just tell everybody, like, and I would tell everybody, in this season, on paper, I was able to get a $1 million deal done. And I, on paper, was unemployed. I get a link card. My company showed a negative the year prior. And because now I have learned during this time that I've taken out time, is that you don't have to even use your own money to make money. But I think if we hold back that information, I want to see Tyra on a television show. I want to see you guys take that platform to where, when I'm talking in meetings about tourism, I'm like, hey, we need to involve Next Showcase. So if we're not taking the people that we know that can do great work and putting them in front of people and making sure they're known, that is our responsibility. And that's why I take it true to my friendships, and true, like, even with this conversation, is that what I love about all of us, we help each other get to where we are. You know what I mean? Because I remember when there was TV shows telling me, well, if you go on WGN, you can't get on our show. I said, well, hell, shit, I ain't going on your show. Like,
those 2 words.
What? You want me to what? That's my girl, Tyra. I don't care if you The View, Morning Show, Today Show. If they can't go on WGN, deuces. But I was firm in that. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, y'all hate no. They don't know I know Tyra.
I've never understood that either, by the way. I don't understand. There is room for everybody to do
it. Not on WGN, you across the world. They don't want that, baby. But let me tell you.
We're going on across the world. Forget you. We're going across the world. We're going on WGN. You hear?
Yeah. So, I mean, just being on with all these great people, bringing Fred on. I was excited just to hear the whole. I thought it ended at 2. That's why I was like, I'm good. I don't have to say nothing, because I really enjoyed hearing Fred speak, because you want those stories and you want to be able to understand the greatness that comes from it. I've worked with Jennifer. We've worked with some of the same people. But at the end of the day, it's the people. But that's what people don't understand. Even with kids today, there's such a career behind the scenes that people don't even realize.
Right.
And we need to teach kids that your person you look to should not be the TikTok, social media influencer, the pastor, or the drug dealer. that shouldn't just be it. That shouldn't be it. It should be people from all walks of life. You don't have to, you can't, having a college education is great. But guess what? I didn't graduate, but I started at $4.45. So I think people hearing these conversations and understanding that there's power beyond the front of the camera, I think that's huge. People don't even know, like if you don't know Tyra, only way you know Tyra, you try to get on the show. But you don't know there's a black woman when you watching that WGN morning news. That's Tyra. And I be looking, I watch it faithfully with somebody. If I'm somebody watching Fox News, I'd be like, you better turn back to WGN. I don't play. Like I watch it. My ratings count.
They do, and we thank you.
And listen, and just to tag into Juan, what Juan said, she said earlier, and I'll let Lady D and Brother Red say something in a minute too as well, because I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but anyway. Juan, she said, something that Juan told us a long time ago, she talked to me, she said, everybody is so eager to know the famous people, but I'm going to tell you who I want to know. I want to know the people behind this thing, because those are the people that make it happen. Those are the people that's going to get you to that person. So while everybody out there trying to know, and she knows them both. So the smart thing about Juan, she knows the artist, but she also knows the team, because the team is the one that really makes things happen. We are the brand, but the team behind us is really that makes us look good and makes things happen. So I started that same concept, like, okay, cool. I'm shaking your hand, but who's your manager? Who's your publicist? Who's that? I mean, because that's what I want to know and get in contact with, because again, something again that Juan taught us, those are the people that if you get to them, they'll get you to that.
I tell you, the person got me where I'm at is Donda. It was his mom. The person that got me into the entertainment game in the hotel, everybody was following Mary J. Blige. I watched the man who everybody was going to, and while Mary J. was on stage, he literally took me to the side and showed me how I should set up the hotel business for entertainment. And that's how I became a director of entertainment, is because Huggy, her manager, sat me down one day because I said, and he looked at me because I said, I want to know you and what you do, and how can I have somebody like Mary stay in my hotel? And he looked at me, he was like, wait, you don't want her autograph? You don't want to meet? I said, no. I want to learn how somebody like her can stay in my hotel. So that's when I was House of Blues Hotel. He said, first you need to change the name of your hotel. You need to do this. You need to do that. And he said, when you do all those things, I will promise you, Mary will come and stay at your hotel. 2 years later, we switched it to Hotel Saks, and Mary was one of my first guests. And I always credit Huggy for being that person that nobody paid attention to. Huggy being, and he's still her manager to this day. And so with me, I'm able to call those managers and be like, because they also know I'm going to listen, I'm going to be a sponge, and I don't go around saying, ooh, I know Mary J. Blige manager. But if Tyra said, hey, Juan, you know someone, and we're not afraid to share each other's contacts too, because we know protocol. I'm still going, if I can trust Tyra, oh, you want this person, here you go, shoot it. But I know Tyra ain't gonna be like, hey, can I go out to lunch with Mary J. Blige?
Right.
But you know what? I'm still trying to tell Tyra, get me in that interview with Denzel. I'm still trying to say, I would bring the water girl, like for real, Tyra. Like
as soon as they start up, you coming with.
I just want to get a water. Like I put a big old bag say intern. Like I would just be there, and then I would just take the cup and just hold it. Like they cologne or something. That's all I want.
Well, listen, guys, I know because this show we normally done in about an hour and a half, but this was a special show. I wanted to extend this, and so Reggie, Lady D, you guys, before we turn it back over to Tyra, you guys have any put or just something to say right quick?
Well, I would just like to thank Juan, especially for what she's done recently with getting us back with live events, being back in that space with us working with artists, with me being an artist manager. The artists totally lost their livelihood, and getting back to some sense of being able to perform. Thank you, because if it had not been for you and Megan doing what you did, who knows when we would be back in a space where artists could perform. So thank you for that. And I know a lot of artists don't know how instrumental you were.
Right.
Thank you for
we make it known.
Yeah.
Make it known, because see, what the thing about it is, what you have to understand is when we get paid, they get paid. And for a lot of people don't understand, that's a trickle-down effect. So if the artist's not working, that means their team 9 times out of 10 are not getting paid either, because their income comes off of our income, because you get a certain percentage, praise the Lord, But they get a certain percentage of it anyway, and they deserve it. So therefore, by Juan doing what she did, and here I go talking again, and her and Megan getting out there doing what they're doing, it really meant a lot, means a lot, brought me to tears, because she was the one that called me at different times and say, we want to talk about how are you doing? Because I understand where we are, because we're in the same area. How are you doing? I don't want to talk about showcase. Yes, I'll be there. That's not what I want to talk about. How are you doing? Listen, it's okay for you to get such and such. I too have a link card, because once
I told you to go get it.
Listen, but it's okay because
I was like, "What is PDA?" I said, "A check. Go get it."
Because a lot of us was at the pride thing, and the pride says, I'm such and such. I shouldn't be in line or being snapped. But check it out. Your pride wasn't putting food on the table. Your pride wasn't putting nothing in your pocket. So my thing was, she's like, drop your pride and apply for that snap. And that
it was due to you. That's what people don't understand. Right. It was due to you because it was impacted. And that's what people needed to see, is that this was due to us. I still live in my house. I still have my car and stuff like that. But those were things that the government knew that you were impacted. That at the end of the day, I'm just transparent with it because I want to be real. People see all this high glory. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in a death suit, but God has blessed me and things of that sort. But like I said, my brother said, go do what is due to you. And what was due to me were the things and the taxes and the things I've been doing for years. My business has been impacted, so I'm still trying to do that cooking thing. I still be using my link card to go get like home run in pizzas and so I'm still trying to work on that,
Is it the hot pizza though?
I didn't get no link card by the time I figure it out.
Listen, see? Okay, I'm sorry, Reg. I didn't mean to interrupt you, lady. I'm sorry.
No, that was it, and of course, the relationship with Tyra and it's just great. I was there when that incident happened, and I believe that was my first time seeing Tyra in person. It was like, wow, she's not one to mess with.
And she does it so gracefully.
It was graceful. She said what she said, and she was done. She was done.
I'd be like, girl,
no, when it's over, it's over.
I know,
Yeah.
Her vocabulary is so extensive. I'm like, if I would have graduated, would my vocabulary be that strong? I still, Tyler gets you together real quick with no curse words. I still need some curse words, and that'd be effective.
And I often say so because we got permission now, so we can go ahead on one. We got permission now.
And thank you to Fred for joining us today as sticking around, and the tribute that we did to Aretha Franklin. Like Mark said, he came in and he was super easy to work with. It's like, yeah, this is what we're doing, and it happened. It was great. It was great.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I think of Fred, I've just known you through social media, and I think I've met you a couple times, but I've always looked at you as one of the greats and take pride. And I'm gonna tell you, even with Aretha's funeral service, when you had my cousin up there playing with you, Rudy Stanfield, I'm like, okay, at least my family there. At least my family.
Rudy's your cousin?
Rudy is my cousin. Rudy's my cousin.
That's
my
so
cousin.
Precious to me. He is so he's the other musician I was mentioning, Tyra.
Really? Okay.
That night.
Rudolph Stanfield.
When we were praying for Aretha that night, and it was an amazing.
That's not surprising. Yep.
Yeah, Rudy.
We covered in the blood.
Yeah.
Another musical genius.
Absolutely.
Rudolph Stanfield. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Tyra, Lady D, go ahead.
I don't never tell Mark this, but I'm just grateful for Mark to have me a part of the team. I know I bother him all the time, but I'm just grateful to him have me part of the team because of him, I'm one of those people that's always been in the background. I do all of this background work. So now that I'm not always in the background, people are able to see me, and I'm able to do a whole lot more. So I've been able to help a lot of people through the pandemic get exposure because of what I do in the background. So I am grateful. I am grateful for Mark for having me a part of the team, and then meet people like Tyra and Juan and Fred. So I've been able to not meet you in person, but meet you virtually.
I like you when you told Mark to kick me off. I'm like, okay, she knows what she's doing. kick Juan off to get a better reception. He ain't ready anyway. She said it so much. She got to get in an Uber anyway.
See, Mark, we need people like that, Mark.
Listen. I have that amazing team. They did that, and I guess sometimes it's like is that just repercussion to me or something? Because I mean, I like go straight there. I mean, that literally like listen, she don't need to be here right now. She go, and then I will come back later on. So I know what you want, Mark, but it's not making any sense right now.
It's not making any sense. And I love that because she wanted to be right. So I was like,
that's right.
She kicked me off.
Those are the people we need.
Listen.
So welcome to the team, ladies.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Because again, I'm like this, and I know Juan has the same way. Everybody, if you have a bunch of yes people on your team, then something's wrong. You always need to have people on your team that's going to either challenge you or and not challenge you with respect. Now, let me say that challenge you with respect now, because if you disrespect me in that challenge, you're going to see the other side of Mark too. I mean, that's just it, because at the end of the day, we still do this. But anyway, no, that's another story. But anyway, but with them, they do it gracefully. Me and Reggie, we fight a lot, but they still know who's in charge. Praise the Lord. But again, they know how to challenge me and make me see it different better. And then it's not always a yes, just because it's a good idea. Yes. And the same thing with my friends. Same thing with my sisters, Tyra and Juan. Just because it's a great idea, Juan be like, all right, but that's cute, but it ain't like nah, don't need to do that. And again, Tyra with her way of just saying it sucks to be like, well, and she said some big word, they'd be like, can you just tell me that sucks? It's just like just tell me that, Tyra. I can take it better that way. By the time she just go to the dictionary and be like, God.
You on your phone Googling what does
they want you to think about it.
Listen, and I be thinking too, but like, God, what was that? Like, I write it down, like, and if you ever see me pick up my phone, I say the word in my phone so I could have it in there. Like, okay, I had to Google this, like, look it up. So can I understand what that word was? Anyway,
let me tell you this real quick, and then we'll all get off the phone.
Yeah.
Or the show that people are watching. The one fight I almost got into, I only ever almost got in one fight. I was in college by the time it happened.
Oh, okay.
Some young woman, was dating a guy that I used to date, but we were still friends. Me and the guy were still friendly, but she didn't like it. So she had been calling me all these names and bumping into me in the yard and all the rest of this stuff, and it just had gotten so out of hand. And my friends were like, "You're gonna have to say something to her." So I'm not like I can deal with people, but I'm not like, I'm gonna fight you in the middle of the yard person. So anyway, we have this come to Jesus meeting. And I said, you know what? I said, we've got to figure out a way to coexist. I said, I don't want him anymore. It's fine. But we can all still be friendly. I said, I'm just sensing all of this animosity from you. I said, what you call me? And I turned around and I told her, like, she's gonna kill you. She's going to kill you. So the big vocabulary can get you in trouble sometimes.
Yes, it can. You were like, she said, "What you call me?"
So what you call me? I'm like backed up, like, oh, it's happening right now, because I know this girl didn't just call me a what?
That thing right there is good.
So we'll leave it with that.
So thank you, Juan. Thank you, Fred, for gracing us tonight. And again, Juan, you said something to Tyra that we're working on, that we continue to pray. We want this platform, the Chat and Chill exclusive, to become her show on a big network. So we're putting it on the atmosphere. God gave it to us, but we definitely believe that she deserves this. She does a great job as our host, and we love her so much for what she does.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for everything. Hey guys, if y'all want to continue to support the platform, you can Zelle us at Next Showcase USA at gmail.com, or support us through Cash App, and that's $, next showcase. All right. So we might as well put that out there too, since you know you want to bless the people, huh? All right.
And Tyra, you know, if you need some celebrity people, I know I use.
I know.
Listen.
We'll hook it up.
Juan, help us out. Bring him on here to chat and chill with. Listen, you know it's gonna be a great interview with Tyra. So listen, we're done. Lady D, take me, Reggie, out, and
love you all.
Love you
Bye,
all.
love you.
Thank you.
Well, that is our show for today. I've had a great time. I hope you did too. I think we learned a lot about the legacy of Aretha Franklin. So as these projects continue to show up, and they will, you know, this is just the big launch year for the big ones, but this is going to continue, like, you know, all the Michael Jackson stories. And how many times have you heard about John Lennon? People are going to continue to tell her story. We are so honored to have had someone who could tell it directly from firsthand account. So thank you again to Fred. Thank you again to my friend Juan, who I love dearly, and for 100 different reasons, and she knows that. So thank you. All the best to them. All the best to you all watching. Thanks to Reggie, Lady D, and Mark and the crew, and we'll see you again next month.